CMA. No. Cover my beep.
Hey there, everyone. Jamie with Sell for 1%, joined as always by the gang, older brother and expert agent Jaysen Barlow, and head broker Dave Barlow. So Dave has a term of the week to explain a little bit of real estate to our followers here in the weird world of real estate terms. What do you got, Dave?
I have an acronym. CMA. Any idea?
I have an idea.
Come Monday afternoon. Yes, no. Come Monday afternoon, we should know if you're in contract or not. CMA. No. Cover my beep. That's CYA. You got CMA. What do you think?
I know Jaysen knows it.
Oh, okay. He's just playing possum.
Yeah, he is. Cat's got his tongue.
Yeah, worse shit. He doesn't think I'm funny.
Just muted.
And his microphone's off.
Perfect.
Or he's just lipping things to make us think that his microphone is off.
New phone. Who dis?
Yeah. All right. CMA. This is both from the buyer side and the seller side. And it's an important term from the seller side. It helps determine value to ask for your property. And from the buyer side, is the house priced properly? And so, Jay Marinsky, why don't you tell us CMA and what that means for the buyer side?
So on the buyer side, I always like to walk through the property prior to doing a CMA because honestly, the finishes, the updates, what the house is itself does play a big role into it, and you don't really know till you walk through a property. But you're comparing other sales in that market, in that neighborhood, to this house. So you're comparing sales of similar properties. You can't compare a condo to a single family. I wouldn't compare a 1-story to a 3-story, things like that. Square footage, average price per square foot, but you're getting an idea of what this neighborhood is worth in terms of this house. And so you don't pay $1 million for a $500,000 house.
Well, the buyer could pay $1 million, and we've seen that quite a bit over the past few years where buyers are overpaying. What we really like for the buyer is to know what the value is, and then if they want to overpay, that's cool in order to be able to purchase the property. But if for some reason, and I'm going to go look at a house here on Thursday with buyers. House was built in 2023. They closed a year ago, April, this seller, and, we're going to go look at the house on Thursday. And so something changed. They bought their home of their dreams. They were going to be there forever. And, either job change, life change, something happened that a little over a year later, those people have to sell. And so what we want to do for the buyer side is just to kind of make sure if you are going to overpay and you do have to sell within the next 2-3 years, that the house is going to be of value so that you can at least get out even, not cost you money. And so that's the real key, I think, for the buyer side. Seller side, Jay, as we go to price a home, CMAs are important. Why?
Well, and before that, like what you just said about the buyers, that's, my line with the buyers is, if you call me in 6 months to sell the house, I don't want to walk in and tell you, oh, well, sorry, you paid too much. And then you kind of look at me like, well, you were my buyer agent. What are you talking about? I paid too much. And so
you didn't help me. You helped me buy it. And helped me pay too much.
And because I'm pretty sure we did this one before. I think that my line was CMA, SHMEMA, for a brief period of time, it was arbitrary. I mean, it was really just kind of for sellers, it was about setting a floor because everything, in 21 was, going bidding wars. And so, I mean, it wasn't really that hard to do a comparative market analysis to price property. Different ones, there's more of an art form too. And what I'm trying to do is find the sweet spot. When I do a comparative market analysis for a seller, what I tell everybody is, most of them know Zillow's numbers or Redfin's numbers or whatever the number is on the internet. So this is what your house is worth. Those websites are grabbing, a radius, a mile, a half mile, 3 miles, whatever it is. And then they're averaging together all the sales. And so what we do is we go in and we say, okay, we want to go into this specific subdivision. And again, it's an art form. Sometimes we know within certain subdivisions, well, half was built by Fisher Homes and half was built by MI. So we really only want to look at the MIs. And so we go in, with a microscope and tell you, okay, this is what this house in this neighborhood is selling for over the past 12 months. We're looking out of the rearview mirror at sales in the past 12 months. And now, Mr. Seller, we're going to look out of the windshield and try and price this thing. And so based on what the current market is. So for me, the CMA is really about setting a floor, finding that sweet spot. Because again, if we're meeting with the seller, the conversation is, if we list this house for $1 million, what's going to happen? And they'll kind of look at you and laugh and say, well, no one would buy it. And if we list it for $1, what will happen? Well, there'll be 50,000 offers, that the door will get knocked off the hinges because we're going to have 100 showings. Exactly. It's all about price. And so what we're really trying to do is find that sweet spot where we're going to attract a quick sale, facilitate a sale that happens and, in accordance with what your neighborhood is averaging, which again, the market analysis will show us that your neighbors are all selling in 14 days. And so if we get to day 45, there's a problem. And so we're going to find that sweet spot where we're not giving the house away, but we're not overpricing when we're going to sit on the market for 6 months. And so we're going to try and maximize your return. But really, the CMA is kind of a guideline. Sometimes it's arbitrary. There's X factors. I back up to a pond or I back up to a freeway. There's different things that you will not see in the comps that our walkthrough will show us. So the CMA is a guideline as to this is what's going on in the area.
All right, good information. So really, CMA could stand for cover my bleep for both buyers.
That's on the buyer side.
Well, for both.
That's on the buyer side.
Yeah, and for us agents. I mean, as you were talking about, I've been in a lot of listings and, they'll say, oh, well, my Zillow number is this. And I have a article from the Wall Street Journal that a couple years ago, Zillow got into the home flipping business and promptly lost $880 million in about 6 months. And so I ask you, how good is their algorithm if they can't make money themselves? And then you're depending on them. So just like an appraisal, in fact, I was in a listing yesterday, they had an appraisal, and I thought the appraisal was low. And, when I looked at the appraisal itself, they had one of my comps and then two that were like a mile away. And, it was a ranch home, so it was hard to do, but I was able to find 3 good comps about $25,000, $35,000 more, plus the fact that the auditor's website had this house like at 1,741 square feet. The appraiser had the house at 2,140 square feet. So almost 400 square foot bigger because they had an addition on the back of the house. And at $225 a square foot, at 400 square feet, you're talking about almost $90,000 of additional value. And so as Jay was talking about, and Jamie, it's the walkthrough. What are we dealing with? There's a lot of different things that we look at that can help you get the right price. And so on that one, like I said, I thought, well, they're at 400. I think I can get you 425 to 435. just because of the size of the home and the location. Jay, you mentioned, backing up to a railroad or a freeway or something like that. This house was on a corner way back, very tranquil backyard. I think location on that one added value for the right buyer. So that's what we're looking for. CMA, Comparative Market Analysis. So good information.
Hey, before you wrap it up, old man, there's two things that as you're talking that I've experienced. One is when you're talking about that appraisal, the CMA, we're basically doing what an appraiser does. In my opinion, I think that Dad and I and Jamie, we probably do it a little bit better than most of these guys, but not trying to insult all the appraisers out there. There's some very good ones. If an example would be, I have one in Westerville. We're in contract at 510. It appraised for 465. That deal blows up. We go back into contract at 510. Next appraisal comes back at 510. That house closed yesterday. And so we made, $40,000-$50,000 by rolling the dice on a second appraisal. So you get 10 different CMAs, 10 different appraisers. You're going to get 10 different numbers. Sure. And then the second thing is that price per square foot. That's again, it's a guideline. And there is an art to pricing this. And that's for someone like Dad who sold 4,000 houses. I mean, he's got a clue as to what he's doing to lead you to the paradise here. If it's not just as simple as, well, what's my neighbor's price per square foot? And the example I give to people that I learned again from Dad is, if I buy your house in a neighborhood where the average price per square foot is $225, and I bulldoze your house, and I build a 10,000 square foot McMansion, are you telling me that's worth $200 million? No, that's not how price per square foot works. A neighborhood is what a neighborhood is. And that's where the old adage, you want to buy the smallest house in the best neighborhood it comes from, because the bigger homes price per square foot will pull you up. So that's all I want to jump in and say is that, their CMA, I guess, go back to your question, Dad, that to me is the art of our business. Yep. And it's cool because there's a science to it, but that's really where the feel comes in. And, how much can I really get you as a seller?
And we sold a condo over in Dublin about 6 months ago. It was a rehab, and they bought the thing for whatever it was, $250, and they sold it for $350. But the big difference being is that after they got done with the rehab, it was like a model home, and that's what buyers. That was the X factor. Yeah, that's what buyers tend to grab, and that's why we have to do the walkthrough. If you have, green, flock wallpaper, mirrors on the ceiling, and shag carpeting, that will impact value. And or if you have all hardwood floors, granite countertops, and everything is gray with white trim, that's going to impact value. And that's what you're looking for. And that's where the art of it comes in. We can look at the analyticals and say cost per square foot or average sales price, but what is the house condition? And in an appraisal, they will have, C4, C3, C2, right? For condition. And this appraisal that I looked at yesterday, one of the properties, it was that property that I had in common. Everything else was C4. And then that listing he had as a C3, and he knocked $44,000 off the price because of the condition.
Right.
And so that does happen as well. This is all stuff that, as my brother used to say, they didn't teach us this in real estate school. You sit there and you listen to Larry Press or Bob Kuchball or, all these guys tell their war stories. It's actually out there doing it. And in my case, 26 years. Jay, you're 19 years?
Yeah, something like that.
You're going to be 19 years. You got your license when you were 18. You become an old man.
I class it up. I tell them 20 years, but yeah,
20 years. And then Jay Marinsky, you're into 6-7 years now? But you have that learning curve to be able to tap into the knowledge. And you're doing things that 20-year veterans have no clue about doing because I haven't done the number of deals. I always get a kick out of, agents. Oh, I've been in the business for 26 years like I do. But I've sold nearly 4,000 houses. Other agents have been in the business for 25, 26 years. They've sold 400 houses. They do 15 deals a year. Times 20, that's 300. What's the difference? It's the experience of doing deal. So anyways, long story short, CMA, Comparative Market Analysis. If you like the content, like our tomfoolery, please like and subscribe. We put this stuff out every week, and hopefully you guys are learning something as well. Thanks, guys, and we will talk to you next week.